Hello there, gamers, and welcome to Marcy's Guide to AP Jhin Support. I know what you're thinking. Why the fuck would you AP Jhin Support? But it somehow works, so I guess stick around if you want to learn how to do it. Alright, so first question is what runes do you even take for AP Jhin support? It will be Sorcery into Inspiration, Arcane Comet and Scorch for the Pokage, Transcendence and Cosmic Insight for Ability Haze, and Mana Flowband and Biscuit Delivery for your mana and sustain in lane. So for my starting item, I started Spectral Circle because that way the enemy team won't suspect that you're going AP Jhin, and a Jhin support in general really throws them off, so this is where you kind of play a little bit of mind games. So fun fact about Jhin is that all of his abilities scale off of AP. So I typically start skill order wise with E followed by W followed by Q. So the main reason why I start with E is kind of a deterrent. Quite a few supports like to go into these bushes and try to snare you or your ADC, and really just stops them from doing that. Just be careful when putting your first trap though. I kind of fucked up here, didn't take into account that the minions would go into it. So yeah, maybe aim a little further down like there. So playing AP Jhin requires quite a bit of patience. Your main job is to prevent ganks from happening by placing down your E's and typically waiting for level 2 to hit before you can actually do anything. So, once you get level 2 and you get your W, that's where the real fun begins and you start to snare them. So what happens here is that we're both level 2 and Pike goes in for the hook. He takes quite a bit of a bad trade, gets rooted, and I go in on Veigar with 4 of my shots. There's a heal there, and I think they took a very bad trade. So the main thing about playing AP Jhin support is that you have to be quite patient. There's not a lot that happens depending on who you're laning with and who you're laning against. Most of the times, things really happen when one of the two junglers come to gank the lane. Abusing your W is the main thing to do. I would say as a Jhin support, you have that range and all you have to do is wait for the opportunity for you to lock your opponents down, whether it's them stepping into an unsuspecting trap or your ADC or jungler hitting them. So depending on how much money you make in the laning phase, I would say a good first bet would be your Sapphire Crystal and your T1 boots followed by a control ward. One thing to keep in mind is that you are still Jhin even if you're going AP Jhin. So when you do get to 6, use it like you would, I would say, a Lux ulti. Try to W them beforehand to make sure that they're still in the lane and they don't escape, and then just snipe them down. You'd be surprised by how much damage an AP Jhin still does. So kind of speeding up into the mid to late game, your Mythic is going to be Liandry's for the burn and the ability haze, and your T2 boots are going to be Boots of Swiftness for mobility and kind of movement speed. Now I know what you're thinking. If you're AP Jhin, why not have Lucidity or M-Pen? Well, for one, they're not going to expect an AP Jhin, so I feel like M-Pen is a bit unnecessary. And secondly, for Lucidity, you have a bunch of ability haze already coming in from Liandry's and from the runes which we discussed earlier on in the video, so I don't think Lucidity is required. You are still Jhin and you are an ADC and you're a bit slow. Most Jhins typically go Gale Force for the burst of movement speed, and Boots of Swiftness just makes sense to be able to catch up with your team. When it comes to team fights, you want to play a little bit more back because at the end of the day you're still Jhin and you're an ADC and quite squishy, and so you don't want to get too caught out. Make sure to make full use of your E and your W. Your traps can be used to prevent any ganks from the flank or from right behind you, and your W is a skill shot with a very small hitbox, so you're gonna have to be as accurate as possible, and that's why you want to stay as far back as you can and still potentially hit it. Additionally, if there is an opportunity for you to R, you can take it safely if you're behind your team. So we're nearing the end of this AP Jhin support guide. At full build, you're gonna have Leandries, Boots of Swiftness, Rylai's Demonic Embrace, and Lichbane. Depending on how long the game goes for, the Rylai's and Demonic Embrace will make sure that anyone who steps in your traps is slowed and burned. Additionally, if you end up using Q in close quarters, that also helps slow them down and burn them, and gives you time to kind of run away if you hit them with a W right after. And yeah, the purpose of Lichbane is to make sure you are a speedy boy, AP Jhin speedy boy, and have a chance to place as many traps as possible. Now that's pretty much it for this AP Jhin support guide. I made a montage of this particular gameplay. If you would like to watch that, the link will be in the description down below. And I hope to see more AP Jhins out there. Let's give them hell!